Well. Good morning, lads, lasses, and you non-binary folk. How are we all feeling today? Let me find the chat from behind all these windows. Give me a moment. There we are. Hello, J-Hank. How are you? Sorry for the slight delay. I was finishing up a phone call with my nephew. We haven't talked in a while, so... Went over a bit. That's why I delayed it, actually. I was going to start at 8, but we were talking for quite a while, so... c'est la vie. Sorry about that. Like my hat? I look beautiful. Even though cherry blossom season's already over, I decided to be annoying. Flower horns, yes. It's like flower crowns, except cooler. Frankly, this is just the first PNG I could find. Why is my... Why are my hands not working? Trying to get my hands to work today, so you can actually see me gesticulating. Yes, flower horns. I got them while running through the beautiful mountainside, you know, climbing hills and diving through trees. It's so beautiful. Ah, there we are. Woo-woo. No chat on chat window? Really? Ah. Give me a moment. Why is that? What's happened to you, chat window? What happened to you? That's the first time I think the chat window's ever broken. Try and refresh it. There we are. Just a moment, I must have been messing with the internet. How about... Is this working yet? So it's working here. Is it working on... Hey! Way! Good hands! Hello! Woo! Jazz hands! Whoa! Clap, clap! It still doesn't do very well with clapping, but oh well. It's not very close to me, unfortunately, so it's seeing me as a very interesting. I forgot. Yes, I haven't bothered to put it in because I've been using my fan. I've got too many things attached to this laptop. It only has 3 USB ports, so there's been a lot that has been plugged up and plugged around, and it's a whole lot of things. But yes, so, should have hands. If it works. Sometimes. I'm sure it'll work occasionally. It's been a long time since I've had the old hands out. Yeah, well, usually I'd have like a box or something that I'd put on my lap so it would be able to track me properly, but I do not. So it's on my desk in front of me. If I sit too close to my desk, the camera can't see me because this is a tiny desk. It's very difficult. I'm dealing with some very limited space. But yes, how are you, J-Hank? I've been certainly doing well. Having a weird time. What can your moving hands do? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Hoo! Ha! Yeah. What are they good for? Oh, you can see my drinking tea. Could see my hand tracking me drinking tea for some reason. I don't know why it's so good at this. Deal with some bureaucratic crap. Oh, aren't we all? How have you been for your summer? Ah, genki. Genki desu. Ah, ii tenki da. O genki desu ka? And hello, Tiberius. Yes, I've been well. If you didn't get me when I was... Ah, genki desu. Look at it's the camera is very close, so it is very confused at how I'm looking always in very, very vast directions. Maybe I should put you here. Yep. Maybe that'll do better. Because then when I'm looking at chat, I'm kind of looking towards you. But yeah, I've been doing very well, actually. Had a couple of nice hikes. Did you find IRL Yakuza? No, not yet. I did meet an interesting old Japanese fellow, but he's a dance instructor, not a Japanese. You're like a new HoloLive member. Am I? Maybe this should be my HoloLive outfit. Yeah. My little, my random Sakura horns. Yes. Yes, I'm the newest HoloLive member. Welcome. My name is, Eddie Fuyu. Eddie Fuyu. There you go. There's a quick name. Eddie Fuyu. Everyone will end up calling me Fu, probably. I'm a Foo fighter. But yes. Very good. I haven't really been keeping up with HoloLive. I know they're absolutely everywhere here, by the way. HoloLive are bloody everywhere. Can't walk 2 steps without seeing the bloody bastards in Tokyo. More advertisements about HoloLive than you can poke a damn stick at. Can't escape them. They're everywhere, especially because they were having their whole big HoloLive festival, weren't they? It was crazy. It was everywhere. I had absolutely no idea what to do. I took a few photos just so I could send them to my nephew and go, hey, there is a casting call here, and so there might be a new gen soon. Oh. I do remember them saying that they've actually just opened the auditions, and a permanent EN audition. I think I saw something about that. So it's a permanent intake. So the idea is you'll just apply, and if they like you, they'll put you in for the next kind of generation, build it slowly over time instead of, trying to get everyone a certain amount. But he's Sakura Snow, the new Australian HoloLive brand Vtuber Gen 1. Yes. I think there is also a Vtuber male Ian from Australia. Axel or whatever his name is. He's definitely an Australian teenager. He certainly sounds like one. Well, over a year ago. Yeah. I think there was an announcement about being more permanent, but they actually announced from the company that it wasn't just open, it was permanently being looked at, Ugh. Ugh. Sorry. I've been finishing my cup of tea that I had when I was chatting to my nephew. And finally tried the drink of today. The Sakura branded, for some reason. It didn't cost any more. It's the same drink. It's just got flowers on it. From Ayataka Cafe. Or matcha latte. Matcha latte. This. Ayataka Cafe. As I expected, as with most Japanese things, it's extremely sugary. I do not understand why they're so obsessed with putting sugar in every coffee and tea drink in the bloody konbini, but it does taste like matcha. It just tastes like matcha that's got about half of a sugarcane farm's worth of sugar in it. No, I'm not too fond of her, so maybe just find them as meme-worthy as the rest of HoloLive. Yeah, well, oh. I think the only thing I've really enjoyed from them has been the sort of interactions between, like, the card game sort of board game nights that they occasionally play. So it'll be like 2 EN girls, two EN boys, and they'll do a board game night, and it just reminds me of the board game nights I used to do with the family, so it's very nostalgic and amusing. They're very fun. But yes, otherwise, not too much. And I think I have a chip on my shoulder for one of them because I knew them, who they were, before they became a HoloLive EN person. I had a chip on my shoulder about them anyway for some reason. I don't know why I didn't like that person. Jealousy, probably. But it is true. They are very creative. And very good at interacting. So I think they have potential. I think they've got quite a bit of popularity. So I quite like it. But we'll see. We'll see, won't we? It is an interesting thing to think about, though. Yes, how's work been, Tiberian? I don't think I asked you how you've been. I did ask how you've been. Oh, genki desu ka? Can you repeat the drink's name? Matcha latte. Ayataka cafe. Matcha latte. Latte. Because, of course, it's all in katakana. But yeah, it's just a matcha latte, but with an extremely large amount of sugar in it for some reason. Matcha latte. Ayataka cafe. In my cup. This is the other side of the cup. See? Look, a biwa and calligraphy. I love this cup. I'm so glad I got it for $1 at a second-hand store. It is the most Japanophile style cup I could have possibly gotten, but it looks quite nice, and it matches green tea quite well with its nice sort of pastel green colour. Also got a really good teapot. They're very cheap, so that was nice. But yes, oh goodness, I've really got to get a better chair for this office. Well, it's not an office anymore, it's just the room. These days, I should change it to background. Might just pointless overtime and cover it with my vacation time, but I'm out of vacation. I'll be forced to do it from now. Oh dear. Yes, that's the one problem about the job I've got these days. Absolutely no vacation time. Pretty much no. It's Japan. There's practically no vacation time anyway. 10 days a year. It does roll over. It does roll over, though. I had a lot more vacation than many of the other jobs I've had, though, unfortunately, so. That's probably just my bias from Australia, who has a lot of vacation days compared to most of the developed world. Or at least it builds up very quickly in most of the jobs I've had. You know, that happens. But that's pretty rough, mate. Yeah, so the job I've got now that I'll be doing while I'm here to keep myself able to stay in the country for a while, yeah, I don't have any vacation days. But I do have a lot of sort of time off, you know, off times in the year that I'm not needed in the office to spare. I don't actually know if I've said what I'm doing, but if I have, forgive me for being vague, but I'll continue to be vague just because I can't remember what information I've revealed or yet. Point is, I don't need to be there for, you know, 2 months of the year, so I'm not, but I'm on company time still. It's not holidays. I can't, you know, go off. You know, I need to be answering emails and stuff still, so. If I need to come in, I need to be available to come in. So, it's not quite holiday, but, you know, I can do day trips and the like. Which is quite handy. Ugh. But yes, otherwise, pretty busy. But, you know, that's what I wanted to be. I've never really found doing nothing to be something I particularly enjoy doing for any extent of... It's nice sometimes. It's nice for a month, but I'm one of those people who starts getting nervous if he's not doing anything. Not necessarily a workaholic, more just, you know, mentally damaged from years and years of working. If you feel like you aren't doing something, you feel weird. But at least the company's been that I'm working for has been very specific. I like this. I like it. They're protecting me from our clients. The people I'm actually working for. So I work for a company and through them I'm working for other people, but I'm protected by the people I'm working for, by the company. And they've said, do not ever in your goddamn life do overtime. Don't. Just don't do it. You finish at 4 o'clock every day. And after that, you just go, what is it? Otsuke shimasu, or whatever it is. I'm leaving. Oh wait, I have a book. Let me pull out my book. They gave me a book of phrases. It's very nice. Book of Japanese phrases. Which is quite kind. How do I do? There's some very specific phrases, which is hilarious. Oh yeah, that's that's goodbye. But if you're leaving before, yeah, osaki ni shitsurei shimasu. There you go. Yeah, so remember, everyone, do not quit the company. Otherwise, you will end up at the town working at the bathhouse. Actually, that's something we could do tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever I do it. Didn't they have a new one? Yes. I'll finish the work thing, though, but my work has been very specific about not working for overtime or doing anything extra, or accepting any extra responsibilities. They are very specific that I stay strictly to what I am supposed to do, which is quite nice. I like that. And they said if anyone challenges you about it, get them to call the company, and the company will tell them no. Which is nice. If they ask you anything, get them to call the company and they can be the bad guys, as they say. They're perfectly willing to be the bad guys, because it's interesting, because actually this is not common amongst these sort of dispatch companies. Some of them actually very much want to impress the schools and the like, so they kind of bend to the other groups, our clients' every whim, which can be quite damaging to a person if their company's not protecting them from the annoyance of a Japanese workplace. But apparently, yes, they are perfectly willing to step up and push back against the schools for it, which is quite nice to know. I don't imagine I'll have any problems with it, but, you know, just in case, it's always nice to know they have my back. Call the company, they call their lawyers, it gets messy. No, it's more that I think they're got a lot more about overtime and stuff like that. It's legal. It's legalities when it comes to my contract. They've made it very strict because it's, one, cheaper for them, and two, it also allows them to keep staff, I imagine, a lot easier. I imagine they have a hard time keeping staff if they kept doing overtime at my pay rate. Goodness, I'm not being paid enough to do overtime. Okay, I'm getting used to this. It's just a very sweet drink. It's like a sweet... But yes, the karaoke. But yeah, they can make games very quickly. Come on, Steam, open up. So, the karaoke. I wonder if they'll go to the karaoke place. I've been to karaoke, actually. Made a lot of new friends, I have. And I've been to karaoke and all the like. It's been a good time. I've realized how different my music taste... I've realized the difference, you know, by... My age is really showing in the karaoke booth. And I'm pulling up a whole heap of older songs. And they're all sitting here singing modern songs, like Radioactive or something. That's not very modern, is it? That's, what, over a decade old now. The karaoke, Chili Hearts. We could play that. Why not? How was that? You know, sometimes, you know, in Australia, things stayed still. Things just stayed still. These days, I keep getting told, like, I'll get a message on the sort of group chat of the people in the area, or the other colleagues in this area, going, oh, did you feel that? And I'll be like, feel what? They're like, the earthquake. You realize how many bands you don't know anything about. Yes. It also doesn't help that the people I went to karaoke with are charitably described as weeaboos, and people who are very much into lots of niche anime things. So, you know, not just VTubers, but, what do they call them? Those robot singers. Vocaloids. A lot of them are into Vocaloids, and into, like, anime openings, and anime... The only anime song I can remember was from that old one called that Bleach anime, and it's because it was like a high-energy pop soul song, which was very fun, called Number One, sung by, like, this black lady with a very high voice. It was very fun. And that's the only one I remember for any anime. There are 3 announced Chillers Out games on Steam. Hey, they are really making their money's worth, mate. Those brothers, Chillers are a pair of brothers. They know what they're doing. I think a lot of people like it because they're nostalgic for one, and also very good at creating atmosphere. Wish I could zoom out a bit of my thing. It's a bit annoying. My camera is just... I've got to find a better way to mount this camera. Maybe I can get something on top of a screen or something. But yes, yay. They're certainly hustling out there. Here's a classic. Sings One Piece, 4 kids around. Yes, I don't think I know of that one. I've definitely heard of that one, but not exactly, but... Yes, no, I do feel a bit out of it there. Well, it's not just that I don't know. I know some bands. I knew a lot of the bands they were, you know, putting up for the karaoke, except for the anime ones. Knew nothing about those. I just watched the bloody stuff. I don't remember everyone who was involved in the thing, but apparently it's a big deal to be making an anime soundtrack or doing the opening and the finishes to an anime. Apparently that's a prestigious thing for a band to do in Japan, which is quite interesting. So there you go. Which I guess is why people can go, yeah, I love when, you know, this band did the opening for this. I like one Japanese band called Bradio. He's very fun. They're like very funky group. Very interesting music videos. But yes. No, it was more the songs they would pull out. Like, oh, this song, I recognize that band name, but I had no idea that this song was a popular one of theirs. I would know, like, the one popular song everyone knows, you know, the one that's always on the bloody radio 100 times in a row. Ooh, you know, Radioactive 100 times in a single day. But they were pulling out some more unknown songs. Also Disney songs, which I did know a few, because I have watched a lot of Disney films. Oh, goodness. So I knew those. I'd forgotten a lot of them. Like, I couldn't barely remember Color of the Wind. Or Painted with the Color... Is it Color of the Wind? I can't even remember the song's name. There you go. But yes. Let's hope the game The Karaoke isn't about a fire hazard or somebody being burned alive in a karaoke booth, because speaking of karaoke booths, it was an impressive night out. I feel, because I did a bit of a, you know, sort of like cultural training before we actually started the job. Or went to our specific tiny towns in the middle of nowhere. Hey, there's an Eric Winters who face streams now, is there? Is there? Goodness, he's stealing my brand. He started 3 months ago. Oh my goodness. And he's an old man. Oh my goodness. I feel like somebody's trying to steal my brand. How dare they? They saw me and went, wait, I have that name and that thing. I can do that too. How dare they? Oh, 5 months ago. Oh. Oh, there you go. There he is. He's Eric with a C, though, so at least we've got a bit more so. He stole your old at. Yeah, is my at actually Eric Winters these days? I don't know if I have an at. Oh yeah, I do have an at Eric Winters. There you go. Swipe right in your best self. Oh, he's a life coach. He's Australian. He's Australian too. This man is just me, except bald. What is going on? He's genuinely an Australian life coach. That is spectacular. What a time. What a time to be alive, eh? He's just doing it to advertise his book. And he gets more views than me. Rude. Oh, that's what I get for going into a... I'm in a niche that does not favor me, so I suppose that's my fault. That's my fault. Eric and Eric collab when? I can only give you terrible life advice. He probably has better advice. I can only give you terrible advice. No good advice from me. That is hilarious, though. That is spectacular. An Australian Eric. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. Oh, hilarious. Oh, Eric. He gives you just a good cop, bad cop. He gives you good life advice as a life coach, and I give you terrible life advice as just an anecdotal, stubborn old man who knows what he's doing. I know how it is. I know how it works. Also, how fast is the chat, actually? I haven't been able to really see, like, ask anyone how reactive the chat is these days. Like, how fast does it take to pop up after you type it in? If you can tell me. Yeah, so the Japanese Eric Winters now, yeah. I'm also Eric with the K, so at least I have a bit more searchability. But yes. Yeah, we should play karaoke. I think that's what we'll do tomorrow. We'll play the karaoke tomorrow. Or maybe pretty quick? That's good. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll play it. I might take a break. I just got so little time, but I don't want to be streaming every morning, to be entirely honest. I actually want to do things in the morning sometimes. Like go for a walk. Or a ride. Now I've got a really nice bike. So yeah, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. It's a bit, you know, fast and loose currently. But pretty quick, that's nice. Pretty quick chat. It's much better than Australia, at least. It's not like 2 minutes. I've moved through 3 or 4 topics by the time your comment appears. That's usually the problem with the other one. Look at my head. Oh, but yes, it has been pretty spectacular recently. I've been having a good time. A lot of hiking. I love hiking. Sort of a lot of climbing mountain trails, wandering around. You know, it's nice that I can still do the same things I enjoy doing in Australia, but now in a country where it's more entertaining to do. I already loved walking around random suburbs, looking at houses and going, ooh, that's an interesting looking house. Oh, ooh, look at that one. Oh, ooh, I wonder what kind of person lives there. And now I can do it, but in Japan, where all the houses look very different. Or so... Oh, it's strange. They have an obsession with some of the places here, where, especially apartment complexes, love building very European-style housing, but they're very strange. They're almost sort of Western style. But a Western person builder would have never used that style for an apartment block, you know? It's very strange. Very interesting, though. So you see these apartment blocks with, like, you know, the kind of American white picket fence house paneling on the outside. Or I walked past an apartment block that looked like it was made from red brick from a distance. When I walked up to it, I think they just put some sort of wallpaper on the outside of the building. I thought that was pretty bizarre. Why in God's good name would you put wallpaper on the outside of a building so it looked like it had brick? It was bizarre. I know it was probably just a concrete wall. It was strange though. Very good optical illusion. It worked. But there's also some older parts of town that look like the bloody like the East Bloc or something in communist Russia. Like all these big, very appeared to be quickly built housing, you know. Lots of low blocks and high blocks, you know, so a series of high blocks, you know, multi-story buildings, all with, like, the sort of address of the building, because, of course, in Japan, it's district, block, building. And the buildings aren't ordered in any particular way, they're named in the order they were built, but these were all in proper order, in, like, a logical order, so it looked like they were all built at the same time, and then you had a couple of, you know, apartment blocks and a couple of, like, sort of long apartment houses, I guess. They were long buildings that had multiple, like, rooms in them that were like a hotel, I suppose. Like a one-level story hotel in the middle of nowhere, except those are actual houses that people lived in. It was bizarre. They all looked very old. And with these big painted typeface, you know, old-style typeface on the sides of the buildings. So it looked very, you know, communist. But it may have just been like reconstruction housing after the war or something like that. Who knows? But most of it looked abandoned, to be honest. There were people living there, but most of it looked abandoned. How the houses are numbered in Australia? Well, we have street names, so we name streets, not blocks. So if I was writing an address, I would say I'm on 15 Warragy Drive. 15 Warragy Drive, you know, I don't know, what's it, a random suburb. 15 Warragy Drive, Bow Desert. Queensland, Australia, you know. 41 something or other, whatever the postcode is. So you have a 4-letter postcode that says, is essentially a quick way to find where you live. So, you know, Bow Desert would have its 4-letter postcode, 4 something or other, 4 something something something. Or some's 5 something something something. But then, yeah, you have your street, your house, and your apartment. Are they zigzag like US, or do they go down the end and return like the UK? Streets are just built and named. And the start of the street is chosen. If that street loops, it loops. So the start of trees is chosen, and then numbered sort of sequentially around. So one side of the road, so if it's a straight road, so it's like a straight road, a very long straight road, one side will be all odd numbers, the other side will be all even numbers, so zigzag across the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So on and so forth. And if there is a block that is empty, that could contain a house, and so you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, but 4 is an empty, or it's just a forest or something like that, it will still skip a number. It won't, it'll like skip the 4. So it, like, if, like, they somehow must do some sort of calculation. Owned by blocks in the US, yes. Oh, well, you do corners of streets, don't you? A lot of cities, aren't they, organized in grids? And so you have, like, east 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and west 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you're like, I don't know, I've just heard about that, and it's like, oh, the corner of east and west, you know, east and north street, east 1 and north 2, or something like that. We only ever have names for our streets. All of our streets have names. So like Lance Drive, or Shield Crescent, or Edinburgh Avenue, or something like that. So it's a 4-number format. Block, house. Where? What? Oh, you mean the US? I'm very confused, yeah. Because, yeah, in Australia, it's... I don't think the block's ever gonna... Yes. Block, okay. So, yeah, we would... If you would write your address and you're an apartment, so you're an apartment block, you'd be, like, 8... Say you're in, like, the 8, you know, apartment number 8, so you'd be 8... 102... 102 Shield Crescent... Birkdale, or something like that. So on 20th house on the 13th block. Interesting. There you go. I quite like the system in Australia. It works very well when you're finding things using maps. Physical maps and Google Maps. And in fact, it really lends itself well for Google Maps. Whereas, not so much when it comes to Japan, unfortunately. Sometimes Google can get very confused. Because, of course, some buildings are larger than whole blocks, and they can send you to places where you can't even access the building because it's technically on that side of the block. It's a whole thing. But then again, you can still... It's more about actually being able to type the address into Google Maps is an absolute nightmare. It doesn't always work. Especially without the right Japanese. Because, of course, they actually have kanji throughout it. Because I think they have, like, you can be like 3 chome 225 or something. 3 chome 316 or something like that. And that could be a whole thing. Chome is like block. Or is it district? I think it might be district. And then your district name. So I guess Nihonbashi would be a district name in Tokyo. There's a lot of smaller districts too that are very small. So I think they have, you know, prefecture, city, district, block, building, apartment? No, there's more there. I'm missing something. There's something between district and block. Yeah, couldn't tell you. Let me look it up. Addresses. As you see, my streets are laid out in right angles running north, east, southwest. Yeah, and you could go north, you know, a corner of north and west street or something like that. So yeah. Prefecture, municipality. Yeah. Prefecture, municipality, town. So like town or village. District, then block, then building, apartment, and floor. So yes, yeah, that's what it is. So something like, yeah. I think it's like Chome Banshi Go is the last 3. So Go is actually your building number. And they're numbered in the order they were built. So on a block, it gets divided. The houses get divided by whatever company owns it, or if it's already owned by various people. And then I don't know what happens when they knock down a building and build a new one. Does everything just move down by 1, or does it stay the same number? I don't know. But I guess when they develop a new block, it's a lot more easy to see it, you know. Oh, that building was finished first, so it gets number 1. But that can be, you know, a massive block can have number 1 and number 2 being on opposite sides of the block from one another, which is very confusing. Which can be very frustrating. It also is... In US, you have that sort of street things, which makes it very easy to estimate distance. You're able to go, oh yeah, it's, you know, a few blocks from here. Blocks are weirdly shaped, especially around this older towns, where a lot of the roads were the same roads since these towns were literally remote villages, so they're tiny and very windy. They're all over the shop. It's no wonder half of them are decrepit, because there's no way you could get a bloody machine in to tarmac them. But yes, their older towns have much more problems with that. Tokyo still does too. It's an absolute nightmare. I don't ever drive in Tokyo, to be honest. It seems like an absolute nightmare. But, yes. It's an interesting thing, because you can't really estimate distance using that sort of block idea. I found it very difficult to estimate distance in Japan. I've been completely thrown off. How I use all the automatic things I use to estimate distance in this country are all off. Uber does exist, but not outside capital cities, pretty much. And it's pricey. The only thing I've got here is local taxi service, and they're also quite expensive. So I have to rely on the barely existent public transport, which is why I bought a really nice bike. Because public transport exists, but before 8 a.m. and... Well, yeah, before 7 or 8 a.m. and after 9 p.m. it's practically useless. I'm nowhere near the one train station in my area. Well, I am near, but by walk I'm still a 40-minute walk. No, a 30-minute walk to the nearest train station. Which isn't bad. But it's also... Yeah, it's not usually that great. If I'm going to Tokyo, it's alright, but honestly, it's not great. The public transport in these tiny little towns, these smaller towns, are not great. In Tokyo, perfect. In Osaka, perfect. In Kyoto and Hiroshima and all these big cities, certainly. The travel there is great, but not in these small little places. Not in the mountains, that's for sure. I'm lucky to even have a train station, to be honest. But, you know, if I need to get to the centre of town, it's actually a lot quicker to walk to the nearest train station and take a train in and then just come back early. It just means I can't stay out late in, like, the main part of town, because trains pretty much disappear after... I think the last train's at 11, but the last 3 or 4 trains reach an hour apart. So if you miss one, you may as well walk home, because it's the same time you're going to be waiting. But yeah, it's beside the point. Uber does exist, not here. So it's interesting, though. So instead I picked myself up a real fancy bike. Real fancy thing. It's got a whole electric motor and everything. I'm glad I have a lot of savings to do this thing, because I think this bike will serve me well. I did a big ride yesterday. I travelled, you know... Oh, the sun's come out. That's very nice. Dozens of kilometers yesterday. Well, dozens. Probably, what, something like 24 kilometers on a bike, and I felt like I hadn't even rode at all. I could have kept going. It was great. These fancy little electric bikes. I don't know why I didn't get one earlier. It was my compromise with my screaming bones, who were very frustrated with me walking everywhere. My bones screeched at me, my ankles, my knees were like, "Why must you make us suffer like this, you geriatric bastard?" And I'm like, well, you damn ungrateful bones. Because we need to get places. You ungrateful pieces of calcium. But yes. So I got myself a fancy little bike. Not little, it's actually quite large. And I zoom around everywhere. It's quite fun. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Just getting a segue, but they quit making those. Yes, I'm more used to bikes. And in fact, I was worried this thing would be too powerful, you know. I'd worried that when I pedaled, I'd go way faster than I expected and crash into a wall and shatter every bone in my body. And granted, I have almost crashed the bike a few times, but not because of its speed, but because I've used sports bikes for a very long time, and particularly mountain bikes, which have suspension. And I don't know, mountain bikes just tended to be easier to get in Australia. So they had suspension and large wheels, so they were quite stable, if not a bit more difficult to ride on normal roads. They were great to ride up mountains, but a bit less efficient when you were riding on a straight road because they were heavier and their wheels were larger, so they took more energy. So this bike's got a much thinner wheels because it's a city bike. It's as the Japanese call it. It's a mamachari. Sort of a, you've probably seen them. They're an older style bike that used to be everywhere in Australia, and even my mother and my grandmother used to ride one. The sort of old style bike with the curved center, a curved, you know, center instead of a triangle, and kind of like a nice gentle curve, straight backed, curved handlebars, not flat handlebars where you need to lean in to use them. So that sort of bike. They call them mamacharis in Japan, and they're still extremely popular. They're the most bought model in Japan. Everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. There's 100 bloody things in, like, abandoned houses. Abandoned houses will have, like, 6 of the damn things rotting away. But yeah, they're everywhere. And also, these electric bikes are growing in popularity. Even in this smaller town, quite a few people use them. Older models, certainly. Quite old people using older models, but yeah, these electric bikes are everywhere. So Segway fail compilations? I certainly haven't. I haven't looked it up specifically, but I have seen Segway fail compilation. Segway fails in a compilation. Remember, cars are the #1 enemy of bikes. Yes! Yes, they are, aren't they? Luckily, most of the sidewalks, as awful as they are in this place, most of the sidewalks are shared, and the tiny roads that I have to ride in are shared as well with people, so cars are very used to going around people anyway. The amount of breadth they give people in this place is amazing. In Australia, you're practically having to jump out of the way of the car's mirrors. People drive so close to you on shared roads, but yeah, no, they're very cautious here. And so it's all about treating yourself as a bike. A lot of these smaller roads only have enough space for 1.5 cars, so you just kind of get out of the car's way and they go around you. Very simple, really. And they have mirrors everywhere. In every corner, there's these like mirrors set up so you can see if people are... Like, every blind corner has a mirror set up so you can see if someone's coming, which is really nice. And oh, yes, hello, Mac. How are you? You've joined me talking about bikes. Yes. We have electric scooters that people throw in a river. I have those in Australia, too. In fact, I think electric bikes haven't... You know, we had sports bike in Australia. There was pretty much only... People only rode sports-style bikes, so BMXs, mountain bikes, or road bikes. Not like city bikes, like the Mamachadi style. But recently, yeah, all those like sort of hiring companies have been doing electric scooters. And sort of the hiring bikes have kind of fallen out of favor. It's all the scooter these days, all electric scooters in Australia. Like, I was just chatting to my nephew about this earlier in the morning, actually. He was talking about how he was visiting Brisbane, where some of our family are, in Australia. And he said a lot of the stores there, a lot of them, even in small supermarkets, there'll be like an electric scooter store that has like one electric... It's like electric transport. But there's like 100 electric scooters, like 100 electric skateboards, and one electric bike. Oh, goodness. So it's very fascinating that those have grown in popularity. I suppose they're easier in a way. Like, with the electric bike, I still have to pedal. But I can pedal twice and then cruise. Like, I'm very able to, and you know, I have a range of something like 70 kilometers or something on the bike. Or 100 if I turn it down to a low-powered mode, but I don't do that because I am a lazy man. Even when you're in Japan, my internet can't move. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. The slings and arrows, eh, mate? The slings and arrows. My upload speed's a lot faster, so you're probably getting my image a lot quicker than it normally. But yes, the download speed's a bit tragic here as well. Well, it's about the same as it was in Australia, but the upload speed is, you know, dozens of times better. So that's nice, at least. If I ever upload another video, it'll be much faster. But yes, what was I saying? Electric bikes, yeah. No, this electric bike's quite nice. I'm enjoying it. The only problem is it has no suspension, so even now my bloody buttocks still hurt from my long ride yesterday. Goodness. You feel every shake, that's for sure. You're reminded that you do have a rear end. Very often. Eric 58 runs fast on a PS5 game. Oof. Ouch. They wanted to get one, an electric bike? Or an electric scooter. Last few months in my old house and the upload speeds were wonderful. That's the thing, isn't it? Download speeds were never a problem in Australia. It was always the upload speed that was the limit. I should probably actually up my stuff. I should actually... I'm at like 60 FPS. I'm at something like 50. So YouTube will say it's 60 FPS, but it is not. Definitely save on gas. Well, that's actually why I bothered to get it. Because I have, you know, the two places, you know, the places I'm driving to for work. I do have a car space at this apartment block that I am in. I'm also stuck with a cable company deal that made a deal with my apartment complex. It's not very good. But, you know, it is very cheap to live in this place, and it's not a bad apartment. You know, it's a 2-room apartment, so it's pretty good compared to most people I know who's working in the same industry as I am. So this is not a bad one. A lot of space. Very comfortable to be in. I do have to climb to my bed, but, you know, keeps me fit. I've lucked out a bit. It's just the internet's not as great because it's just a deal with the apartment complex. In fact, I think it's proprietary to the actual real estate agent, which is a bit worrying. Your neighborhoods with other VTubers? Not quite. Other colleagues in the same industry, but not VTuber industry. This is a hobby, not a job. I am neighbors with and a few random people, but I only have it upstairs. That's another lucky thing. Half of Japan must be probably. There's probably a VTuber somewhere in the apartment complex. But the thing is, I'm lucky. I don't have any next door neighbors. So there's no one in the apartment beside me. And I think there's a ghost in the apartment on the end of the block. It's a very frightening looking apartment. The window's always half open. And, you know, the curtains are always half open, but the lights are never on. The letterbox is full of junk mail exploding out of it. And like an eviction notice or something. Very frightening. So I think there's a ghost next door. And there's a fellow upstairs. But I don't think... It's like the delivery, yes. Except the guy upstairs, all I hear him is getting into the bath in the morning. And in the day, I don't think he goes outside, to be entirely honest. The person above me doesn't leave his house. And I don't hear anything except for him walking around occasionally. You know, sometimes late at night. And yes, I've heard that too. I've been worried, but I haven't heard a damn thing. The only thing I get is creaky floors from upstairs. And I am on the ground floor, so I don't have to worry about anyone below me. Except for that, no, the rats underneath the floor or something. I should probably say that. That's probably liable. Yes, I imagine they are super thin. I've been talking to some other colleagues in the area, and they've had some very loud neighbours, you know, bashing on walls and stuff. But the ones in these apartments are pretty good. They're not concrete, certainly, but I haven't had any issues. And I haven't had any complaints. I've been here for a few months, and I am essentially the party central, because I make drinks, of course. And when everyone found that out, everyone in the area was like, "Oh, drinks! We'll bring a bottle. Can you make us some cocktails?" They're all very excited that there's somebody in the area that knows their stuff about cocktails. So, I've become party central. I just got here, and I'm already the center of attention. I guess I'm a bit different from the normal person who would turn up in Japan doing my work. Windows and doors let sound right through. Yes! The annoying thing is I'm on the ground floor. I don't have a window. I have a sliding door. Problem is, the screen doesn't lock, nor does it close completely. So it's just a screen. It doesn't even stop insects from getting in. So I don't know the point of it. It's just there to... I guess I can open it to let sun in. Because they have privacy glass, even though they have also a privacy curtain, which is bizarre. So they have privacy curtains, but also privacy glass, so... Don't know what's going on here. I also realised I'm quite weird, because good thing Japan is very safe. Yeah, the bloody thing locks, but only if I completely close it. They've got this fancy electronic lock on the front door where I can, like, walk up to it, and it recognises that I'm nearby, and bloody goes, "Welcome home. Welcome home, Mr. Eric." Ah. You know, all fancy, it's tied to my phone, and if my phone's nearby or it's been run out of batteries, I can type in a code, and it's a whole thing. It's all very fancy. I can even, you know, give like a one-time code to a friend that can walk in and use the code once and get into the apartment. I can track who's entered and left the apartment using certain codes. It's crazy. Anyway, run away, call the authorities and hide, yes. But yes, it's pretty mad that they've got this fancy lock on one door and absolutely nothing on the other one. Well, they've got a lock. Just, oh, well, I guess it's one of those privacy glass door windows that has metal inside the glass, like a metal mesh. So if you smash the glass, you wouldn't be getting in. Yes, the dormant Vtuber underneath Japan. We gotta watch out for that. In fact, maybe I'll be able to scare the person away above me, and then I'd be completely alone. No one would be nearby, and I could be as loud as I want. Also, I think these are things. In Australia, when I hear the sound of something kind of like bumping and rattling, I think, oh, what the hell's that? I must have moved something, or there must something be there, or like there's a mouse on the walls or something, or that sort of thing. But unfortunately, there are earthquakes here. So when things rattle, it's probably because the ground is moving. Very common. Because I'm along the east coast of Japan. I'll give you that much. But yeah, I'm along the east coast, but I'm a bit far away from the actual fault, but I'm still close enough to sometimes get some tremors, which is amusing. I never feel them. I don't notice them. I'm just a very stable person. I don't feel it at all. I'm like, why is the door rattling? But then you know, people are messaging on like the area group chat going, oh my god, did you feel that? That was crazy. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm like, oh, it was only magnitude 4. Calm down. That's just the Vtuber under Japan, you know, rolling over their sleep or moving their hand. Oh, it's a bird. I was about to go across it. A lock and a clear plastic thing that flips down. I have that. The front door is very much a classic, you know, ghost crew. A classic, very intense lock. They have a thing you can slide, like, flip over that when you open the door. It keeps the door from opening too far. It's like a fancy new version of those chains. A lot harder to cut. Because it's actually like a whole latch that you kind of flip over, and then when you open the door, the latch catches after a certain point. And they have the big fancy lock, and a whole thing. Hey, I even have a little phone that when somebody rings the doorbell, I can go, hello, who is it? Though there's a friend nearby, a new friend of mine, who's got a much fancier, brand new apartment. Same company. But theirs has got like a camera and everything. Real fancy stuff. You can see who's at the door when they ring the doorbell. A camera turns on. Though it's really funny, it's clearly a very new piece of technology, but it's built like an old 90s, 80s piece of technology. You know, like the discolored beige and it's that very particular style old phones were made like. It's hilarious. It's this new piece of technology, but it looks like it's from the 90s. It's hilarious. Giant lizards fighting constantly is. Luckily I'm not around Tokyo, so I won't have to deal with that. And I'm not around Fukushima, so you don't have to deal with that. I'm close enough to the coast that I can get there very quickly. But I am actually more toward the mountains, in the mountains. It's very beautiful. I can go out in my apartment, look up, and just surrounded by its beautiful stuff. Love it. I love mountains. A real fan of mountains. I once almost missed an appointment with one of my, you know, the company, because I was in the mountains and I misunderstood what day we were doing it on. It was very funny. They called me and they're like, where are you? And I was like, I'm in the mountains. And they were like, what? Why are you in the mountains? And I was like, I thought we were doing this tomorrow. And they're like, no, today. I'm like, oh, okay. So luckily, I was able to get back pretty quickly. But I was in the mountains, and it was very funny. I was like a wild man. Climbing from... No, I walked out of the hills with these, like, sakura tree branches in my hair. And they're like, whoa. I was like a bushman. Go on walkabout, I was. Go on walkabout. That really worked. Yes, rather who showed in Japan to them. Yeah, that was tragic. Yes, actually, I could have been working for this company in Fukushima, actually. That was... They kind of gave me a short list of places, and, you know, short list. It was like 10 prefectures. Are there any mountains in Australia? Yes, one very large mountain range. There are hills, and there are mountains, technically, that are not part of this mountain range. But most of the mountains in Australia are on one side of the country, which is why everything in green is on the east coast, because there's a massive mountain range called the Great Dividing Range that essentially runs from north to south in Australia. So imagine a mountain range in America that went from, you know, all the way up the north of the east coast and all the way down to bloody Florida. That's essentially what the Great Divided Range is in Australia. And yeah, there's a fair few, but it sticks quite close to the coast. It kind of weaves down the coast, and it's quite an old mountain range, so it's not nearly as big as most. Because, of course, Australia hasn't been active tectonically for millions of years. The Appalachian Mountains, I guess. I don't know many American mountains. Or mountain ranges. But yes. So it's like the Appalachians. I guess it is. I like how everything in Australia is the Great Something, the Great Barrier Reef, the Great Dividing Range. It started with hundreds of peaks, surrounded by many smaller mountains, spurs, canyons, valleys, and da-da-da-da-da. Carboniferous. It's from the Carboniferous era, these rocks. Entire length of the eastern coastline through Queensland. Starts from Doran Island in the Torres Straits and goes all the way, literally goes from an island in North Queensland all the way down to... has Mount Kosciuszko and resides the Stowe Mountains. You should look at it on a map. It's absolutely massive. It's a Cordelia of mountain ranges. Because it's old. It's very old. And unfortunately, it's a watershed boundary, which is why no rain gets beyond it. It's very interesting. Very interesting. But yes, and they're beautiful, you know. The blue mountains. Blue mountains are very beautiful. Again, Australia doesn't have many, what is it? Many, oh bloody hell, why have I forgotten the scientific terms? Deciduous, that's it. Not many of us, they're very... Australia's evergreens, not many of them are deciduous trees. So the Blue Mountains and, you know, Mount Campbell and Kangaroo Valley, they all look the same pretty much the whole year round. The only thing that changes is the colour of the grass and the smaller bushes. They change colour quite often. But most of the trees stay green. And they're very beautiful, I'll admit. The Australian mountain ranges and Australian forests and bushland and all that stuff have a beauty to them. But this is different, you know. It's very nice to be somewhere where the mountains are different. They're like mottled in a way, because I came here during spring, so a lot of the wild sakura, there's thousands of wild sakura throughout Japan. And they give these mountains this sort of speckled look where there'll be green, a dark green tree and a light green tree that hasn't quite gotten its leaves back from its, you know, early spring, so it still hasn't quite grown its leaves in. So it's like light green, dark green, these sort of coniferous firs and ferns, and you know, and then you've got these bright pink and purple cherry blossoms and plum blossoms and white blossom trees. I can't remember what the actual tree is, but you know, it speckles the mountains, makes this very interesting thing to look at it. I really love how it looks, so I'm very, very much enjoying. I think everyone who talks to me is sick of it, because every time I catch sight of the mountains between the buildings, or catch sight of the mountains and I walk, I'm like, ah, oh, they're beautiful today. It's really nice, clear days. You do get a lot of precipitation though, sometimes they look quite hazy because of it. But yes, well, I know of a few Americans now, and you never know, maybe I'll make enough friends with a few Americans that'll actually motivate me to go to the one country I've never had any interest in traveling to, no offense, is America. I've never really been that interested. But yeah, I might come, if nothing for the nature. It is one of my favourite hobbies and pastimes, is staring at nature. I'm almost making up for the first 25 years of my life where I never looked at nature and just kind of lived. None taken. Nature is beautiful. It is true, but I feel like I just move too quickly to appreciate it half the time. Even in my age, I go everywhere a million miles an hour. I've never slowed down. I thought I would, to be entirely honest with you. I thought I would. People are shocked about how much I did when I came a week early to Japan. Before we actually sat down and worked with the company, I came a week early and stayed in Tokyo. They're all so shocked at how much I was able to do in 5 days. To me, it was just because I was going for like 8 to 10 hours a day, just going fast. Never slowed down. I could have probably appreciated the moment more, but, you know, I didn't get this far by appreciating moments. I got this far by working. Yes. I feel like Australia really lucked out there. It's like, we've got beautiful nature, beautiful beaches, and a heap of deadly animals. But hey, if you avoid the seasons where those animals are active, go to North Queensland in the winter rather than the summer, it looks the same, you just can't swim. Because it's cold. You still can swim, it's just cold. You know, it's pretty amazing. Oh, and also up in Cairns, it's bloody hot all the time, so you could probably swim anyway. You know, it's fine to swim around rivers. Just, don't, it's fine to swim in the beach. Just don't swim near the rivers, because saltwater crocodiles are there. Those trees whose bark has 3 colors. Yes. We do. Gum trees. No, not gum tree, the side. The tree. There's a lot of trees in Australia, and yes, we do have many multicolored trees. Gum trees are like a light beige, grey, and black, and they're a whole other thing. They go white quite often, and they look quite spooky because they're like twisted, very twisted trees. They have a very twisted sort of style of tree, and they have like, I think it's white, grey, and brown, or like grey, light grey, dark grey, and brown. I think gum trees are. Then you've got ironbarks, which are black, like a sort of steel, kind of chrome, not chrome, but sort of a black that has a sort of, lighter, like a lighter black, dark, a very dark grey, I suppose, with bright red flesh, so they look like they're bleeding. And they're quite fast. They've got red ironbarks, normal ironbarks, and they have like dark red flesh. It's quite interesting. They look like trees that have lava in them. It's very interesting. Then we have the eucalyptuses, which are... Recently, though, I was in a hotel that was using a eucalyptus-smelling oil for, like... Eucalyptus and gum trees are very similar to each other, but they're also 3 colors. Because I think there's something like the rainbow gum, or something like that. The eucalyptus rainbow gum tree, or something like that, and it's got 3 or 4 different colors. Because the gum trees and eucalyptus are the same tree, mostly. Yeah, the rainbow one is very beautiful. You don't see them as often, because they weren't around where I was most of the time. They're sort of bright. Also, a lot of the pictures you see of them are very heavily edited. They're not that brightly colored. Not native to Australia? Oh, there you go. There are rainbow gums in Australia, but they must have been brought into Australia. It's entirely possible. But yes, most species of eucalyptus are native to Australia. You'd be shocked. Ah, the wattle seed. All endemic to Australia except for 4 species. There are 100 species, and they're all in Australia except for 1, which is in Papua New Guinea. Lesson learned. Never knew that. It's interesting. Most gum trees / eucalyptus trees are the same thing. Are in Australia. And yeah, gum trees extend to many more things than what we would commonly think of as the eucalyptus tree. You've got your sort of lots of flowering bushes and all that sort of things at the start of sort of part of the same family. Or genus. I don't know the proper terminology for trees. Never been much of a botanist, nor a biologist, to be honest. Like to go to Australia one day, yes. A lot of people I've talked to have said that too. They've kind of wanted to go to Australia, which is quite curious. Seem to have that effect on people. Great River Barrier Reef is beautiful. Uluru, if you can get there, is nice. And you've got a lot of multiculturalism in your Brisbanes, your Sydneys, your Melbournes. They're all very fun. Can always go see the Big Banana in Coffs Harbour. Or is it Newcastle? I can never remember where the Big Banana is. It's Coffs Harbour. The Big Banana. For some reason, Australians have an obsession with building big things. So there's the Big Pineapple, the Big Banana, the Big Ram, the Big Potato, which just looks like just a giant feces, like a giant poo. It's crazy. Big Shrimp, Big Lobster. Don't know why we build them so much. It's a nice place, but I'm always so terrible at recommending where people go. Because Because of course I wasn't a tourist, I just lived there for most of my life and did things, yes, but never touristy things, interestingly enough. Try to compensate for something, maybe? Maybe. But I'll always recommend Cairns, Airlie Beach for the coast. Cairns, Airlie Beach, Sydney, most of it. Gold Coast, if you like beaches, parties, and theme parks. There's a movie world, a Wet n Wild, a Sea World. Australia Zoo in Queensland's great if you like your animals. There are a lot of them there. Australia Zoo was the one started by Steve Irwin. You've also got Taronga Zoo down in Sydney, which is quite nice. Oh, aquariums are quite nice in Australia, I find. Aquariums are quite good. See if you ever get the chance to go to aquariums. They're quite fun. But yeah, so who knows? I'm terrible at recommending things to go to Australia, but there's a lot to do. I'm sure the tour companies. What about food? Ooh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because we're one of those countries that never really has its own cuisine. Yeah, well, you can always find, cafes and stuff that serve bush tucker. That's entirely possible. You could go eat some bush tucker, do like a tour thing if you want, and eat bush tucker. So, native fruits and vegetables, but food is a difficult one. We're very multicultural. Apparently food's quite nice, according to many people who have gone to Australia. They find the most foods from most cultures are quite nice in Australia, so, If it's over 4 stars on Google, it's usually a pretty solid bet for food, is my recommendation. If it's over 4 stars, it's a good solid bet for the food in there. That's usually the baseline for food I'd actually want to go eat. If it's over 4 stars on Google reviews. In Japan, everything's 3 stars. It's crazy. Everyone just gets it middle-of-the-road reviews. Like, it was good. 3 stars. You live up to the title of Medicare, but with healthcare. Yes. You better give it... Oh, that's one warning. Please, for the love of God, get travel insurance, because Australia will charge you everything they can if you don't. That's the thing. We have health, but for anyone who's not Australian and not part of our healthcare system and doesn't have insurance, travel insurance, we will charge the ever-loving crap out of you. You will have so much debt. I've heard... Well, it's not as bad as American debt, but I hear, it's thousands of dollars to stay in the ER for one night, so just be careful. Make sure you have insurance when you come to Australia. I worked in the health industry for a short time. I know how expensive it can get when I had to bring some poor American who'd crashed his bloody car into a hospital and knew that he didn't have any insurance. So be careful. That's the only piece of recommendation. Really get yourself travel insurance and read up. I don't want you to be scared by the native wildlife. There's a lot of scary stuff. Drop bears, murderous plastic bags in the ocean. It costs the price of a plane ticket. It's true. It is true. But they will take everything you have on you. So, I guess if you don't bring anything that they can access very easily, they won't be able to charge you, but yes, just don't carry much cash. I don't know. I hear it's quite bad, though, if somebody doesn't have insurance in Australia. But it's true, you could just run away. Problem is, Australia and America are quite close to each other. You never know, you might end up on a plane straight back. But yes, anyway. Be cautious, but not detrimentally so. There's, murderous trash bags and giant bin chickens and drop bears and thorny devils and, inland taipans, coastal taipans, red belly black snakes, redback spiders, all the cane toads. They're all very scary, but if you know your stuff and you make sure you do your research, most of them won't serve as much of a danger for you, so I wouldn't worry too much about, native wildlife if you go there. Just listen to the experts. If you're with an expert and they tell you to do something, just do it. Don't be stupid. Murderous trash bags. Yes, I was talking about jellyfish. Also, murderous microplastics in the form of tiny little irukandji. They'll get you, mate, and they're like the microplastic bag of the jellyship family. The murderous microplastic. Give you a heart attack. We also have cone snails, and do not ever pick up. This is one thing, and I know most people wouldn't be this stupid, but if you are in Australia, and this is one piece of real advice, I've seen this done far too many times. So kidnapping to grab someone back into... That's true. There you go, I didn't know that. I don't know what how the death situation works, but yes, you would never be able to return to Australia. They would just bar you from the country. So if you do that, you better hope you only ever wanted to come once. They would just bar you from the country. Or if you ever came back, they would arrest you. For you know, running away from... Or they would sue you or something like that. I don't know how it works. It's never really... Somebody, either they haven't paid or they have paid or they've had insurance. Never really... I don't know what happens afterwards. I just know they have a lot of debt. But yes, my one piece of advice is if you're on the beach... I don't know if you guys like the beach and you're hanging around and you see like an octopus or something, do not touch it. Just don't touch octopuses in Australia. It is almost certainly a blue-ringed octopus, and I don't think you want to die of lung failure, so I wouldn't touch it. Just a friendly piece of advice. It's happened far too many times. Tourists, it looks cool. They look very cool, and they're relatively calm animals, but I wouldn't play that game. You don't know if you've gotten bitten by them, because they're I believe they have some way of stopping, because it's a neurotoxin. The moment they bite you, you can't feel it. So, just don't touch the octopus in the ocean. No matter how cool and shiny it looks. I don't know why I have to... You guys, people, are not stupid, so I'm giving you probably advice you don't need, but it's happened far too many times. Some idiot have picked it up. It's not a good time. It is not a good time. You could survive as long as you get to the hospital fast enough, but I wouldn't want to play that particular game. Anyway, enough about Australia. I don't know. Just leave the Australia to the Australians. It sounds a lot scarier than it is. I don't want to be too... It's fun to play it up. But yes. Usually jellyfish aren't too much of an issue on beaches. A lot of the more deadly jellyfishes don't tend to be on the beach. They can. Not to say they won't be, but... a lot of the bigger jellyfishes, like your murderous box jellyfishes, your box jellyfish and your irukandji, don't like rough water. So they'll tend to stay further out where the waves aren't breaking. So usually they're more of an issue if you're diving, or on a yacht or a boat or something like that. That's usually where you'd find them, not on the beach themselves. But, again, just be cautious if you ever go to Australia and do swimming. Wear stinger suits. That's one recommendation. If you do want to go swimming during the summer, wear stinger suits. Like a full body coverage. Because then you won't have an issue. You can get tangled up in them all you want. As long as you're wearing a stinger suit. Hand protection. Like, they're called box jellyfish because you try to box them for fun. Yeah. I've had a few close calls with box jellyfish, but... Goodness, it's windy out there today. Yes, it's it's just one of those things. Also, I'm loving the amount of shrines around Japan, actually, speaking of Japan. God, you can't go 2 blocks without tripping over a shrine. They're everywhere, and most of them, these tiny towns with decreasing... The populations in these smaller towns are disappearing very quickly, so a lot of the shrines aren't maintained anymore, and so you kind of walk around a corner and there's this, you know, copse of trees and a shrine gate in front of it, and you walk in and there's these dilapidated shrines, and it's, ooh, very spooky, to be honest. Very spooky. It's very fun, though. I enjoy them. I really enjoy that. I'm the same with churches in Australia, but you just don't have much history in Australia. Australia's a very young country, so the history just isn't there, you know? The history just isn't there as much as it is in you know, this country. So being able to walk through these tiny towns that have probably been around for longer than Australia has been a country is fascinating, you know. And these shrines that probably have lineages that stretch back to hundreds of years ago. It's a fascinating little thing, and I quite enjoy it. They're all my colleagues are making fun of me because they like joke that I'm the one summoning. Every time they go on a walk with me and they they'll go to lunch with me, we always somehow come across a new shrine. And they're like, how do you keep finding these things? They're like, well, they're all joking that I actually just go and build them overnight in random places. That also happened in Tokyo, because I was there earlier. I knew a lot about the area in Tokyo that we were in. So I was able to kind of take everyone as like a faux tour guide around the place. Oh, there's this interesting place I saw a few days ago over here. And they're like, how do you know so much? How do you know this? Why do you know this? One person just joked, he's like, this person's older than this person's old, but he's older than I think he's getting on. I think he's just some sort of old spirit that's pretending to be a human. We're gonna be told by the company that an Era Quintus doesn't exist. He's a ghost of a man who died 100 years ago. And haunts his favorite place in the world, Japan. Yeah, there's a lot of rundown temples in Japan. I imagine they would be. They have a lot of rundown buildings as well, which is something Japan and China have in common. The place around here, I'd say every sixth, seventh or eighth building in this area, maybe even less, maybe even more. So maybe every 1 in 5 buildings around here have become abandoned or very close to being so. But granted, I am surrounded by a very strange mix of tall apartment blocks and actual farms. Actually, yeah, there were a few Australians that I'm working with, a few other Australians, quite a few English. A couple of South Africans, a few Jamaicans, a lot of Americans, even a classic hunter style, a guy who, lived in the country in America a lot. This sort of owns like a Stetson hat and or whatever it is, one of your famous brand of cowboy hat is. Owns wears a Stetson with a turkey feather in it, and lived in the mountains and lived in Death Valley and all these places all over the country, hiked the Appalachian Trail and would never buy meat from the store because he'd just hunt deer. That sort of fella. The growing of the East Age is going to be more and more common, yes. I'm surprised I even have anything to do, considering my work is mostly dealing with young people. Bit of a race of ISOL Europeans. I think we have a person from France. But a lot of Americans, a lot of English, well, Welsh, English, Scottish. I have met an English person, a Scottish person, a Welsh person, and they all walked into a bar and made a joke about it. I've got Californians, New Yorkers, wherever the hell Mr. Hunterman was from, I can't remember. He was from across the country. The woods and the woods. So the idea of America, mostly well, yeah, he seems pretty interesting. It was funny, he's just like, I just realized I don't know, he was like, I actually don't know the price of meat in America. And I was like, why? And he's like, well, I never really bought meat. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I just hunted it. And I was like, oh. Oh. He's like, yeah, it was, 1 or 2 deer, supply me for a while. And I was like, oh, goodness gracious. So I guess he butchers it as well. Not the kind of person I expected to be turning up in Japan, to be entirely honest. He definitely doesn't seem the type, but, he's an adventurous type. I guess this is another one of his adventures. Fun fellow, though. Fun fellow. Because they never love the bar. That is true. I just read that. That's very true. But yes, oh well. It is all very interesting, but yes. Mostly, I'd say the highest amount is definitely American, I think. The most. But I still had a lot more people than I expected. Don't know you a cock and roo meat in Australia? Well, when we were in the country, I never personally hunted it. I usually worked in a different sector. But I knew a lot of farmers who did hunt kangaroos, emus, crocodiles, just because, to protect livestock. And, it's not bad meat. crocodile's sort of, well, you know, emu's kind of like a very turkey-like meat, quite reddish, right? Red meat almost. It's like some of the turkey stuff. Wonder what raw meats taste like. Have you ever had venison or like a very gamey meat? So like a very muscular meat. It's like that. It's like the most muscular piece of, you know, cow you could ever have. You know, like venison. You know, there's more like low body fat because there's no kangaroos have very low body fat. So it's alligator tastes like chicken. Yes, that's the phrase. It's almost like a. Though it's almost like a white meat in a way, because it's like chicken. It's like a very white meat. So it's very gamey, similar to things like venison and the like. Quite irony. You know, it's got a lot of blood in it too. Because they're muscular, they've got very low body fat. They're not very fatty. You've seen a picture of a kangaroo. They look like they've been to the gym and taken, you know, half a country, you know, half a year's worth of steroids within 3 days. Fellow could bench press a mountain. But yes, you know, they're very gaming. But hey, if you're staying in an Airbnb that has a kitchen in Australia, if you're staying in some sort of like place that has a kitchen that you can cook in Australia, just head down one of the local, to one of the local, you know, supermarkets like Coles or Woolies. They'll have a game meat section, and that'll be, if emus are endemic to the area. Emus tend to be more of a Northern Territory, Western Australia thing. They're quite often they're not found that often on the East Coast. You might find them for West, so maybe if you're in Griffith or in, I don't know, Mount Isa or something like that, you'll find emu meats. But mostly they're a pest to farmers, and so are kangaroos actually. They're a pest to farmers because they can attack livestock and stuff like that, or more scare livestock. Kangaroos aren't as deadly. They can get quite upset with dogs, so a lot of hunters will just try and keep kangaroos off their property just because they don't want their, you know, very well-trained sheepdogs getting attacked by a kangaroo. Even if it doesn't cause much damage, it can be quite annoying. Those water were burned. Yes, we did. Mostly because we ran out of ammunition and hadn't killed enough of them. It was more like a video game where you had a certain amount of time to kill as many opponents as possible, and we sucked at it so bad they technically won. A lot of emus died, just not enough emus died. So instead we outsourced the war to the farmers of the area and could give them money to shoot emus, and because emus are very hard to cultivate, luckily we didn't have, they're very large birds and very difficult to cultivate. Luckily, we didn't have a problem of people trying to breed emus to make money off the bounty. So, we didn't have the snake problem. In India, I think it was. Was it India that had that snake problem where they started breeding snakes so they could sell them? Beside the point. But yes, now, you can find kangaroo meat in most supermarkets though. It's quite often, they're infinite. They can't get rid of the damn things, they're everywhere. So they're quite a common meat you'll find in the game section. And depending on the area, you'll find other things. But, you know, you can grab some if you're in Australia and try and cook it up. Try and find a recipe using it and give it a cook. It's not bad. It's not bad. My nephew-in-law cooked some once for us, and it was very good. Couldn't think it was so delicious. By the way, I need to run to the loo. I'll be back in a moment. I'm back. Goodness. I've been drinking a lot of tea this morning. I had like 3 cups. A whole thing. But yes. Oh yes, I picked up that thing from convenience store. I'm gonna eat it for breakfast. I'm over the other side of the room. Back. Good to be back. It just says bacon and potato, but it appears to be some sort of pastry. So, I guess I'm having a late lunch today. Bird of wit against humans. Some sort of weird pastry. Maybe I should put it in the microwave. Give me, I'm gonna throw it in the microwave. Actually, am I gonna throw it in the microwave? That'll probably mess with the Wi-Fi. No, never mind. Throw it in the microwave. I do not like this. Interesting. Makes it a while for the bird to win against humans. Well, no humans died. I think somebody tripped over and hurt his leg, but their win came from just being a lot better at surviving than they expected. Sorry, I'm over the other side of the room. Coming back. Yes, it's interesting trying all the weird foods you find in various places around this country. Luckily, I'm quite close to one of the many convenience stores. Not as close as I'd like to be, but close enough. A bit of a brisk walk. Unfortunately, it's not a single, like, around the corner, but yes. Is the actual photo of your library or a stock photo? Yes, it was a photo of the library. I've changed the shelves, actually, since I took this photo. But yes, that is the photo of the collection of books that were in my little granny flat that I used to live in. Used to be the garage part of the granny flat that I just turned into another room, a study, as books. The other picture is actually of a part of the granny flat I used to live in, because I used to... That's why I always talked about the house was never technically mine when I talked about where I lived in Australia. Because it was actually attached to a relative's house. A fairly nice space, a kitchen, a bathroom, a study, a bedroom. It was quite nice. It's just that, you know... Yeah, and I technically paid rent to them. Everything's in walking distance. Yes! It really is quite nice. Especially when I was in Tokyo. That's why there's a lot of people doing Japanese candy, yes. Especially while I was in Tokyo. God, I could never estimate distances, because just in the cities I lived in most of my life, you could walk to places, but Australian cities tend to be extremely spread out. So everything's walkable. You can walk from every location to another, but it's so far apart that if I wanted to get anywhere useful, I'd be walking, you know, hours. And so I'd look, oh, I couldn't be possibly close to this famous location. And I'd go to one famous location in Tokyo. Or I'd wake up and I'd go, oh, I want to go to this place. And I'd look it up and I'd go, oh, that looks pretty fun. And I'd click the walking thing, you know, click the Google Maps walking thing. And I'd be like, oh, it's only like a 40-minute walk. And I'd be like, whoa, that's less than an hour. That's faster than it took me to walk to the nearest bloody, you know, movie theater or something. It was ridiculous. And then a lot of these famous places in Tokyo are, like, you know, only like an hour walked from each other, and that's fairly reasonable to me. Especially if I'm trying to avoid peak hour trains. That's always nice. You're going to be walking to Walmart and a few restaurants. That's what a lot of people do videos of. But yes, though, even in this small town with a population that probably isn't very large... Well, its population is fairly large for a town. I would definitely call this like a small city rather than just a town. But, you know, the district I'm in is quite low in population. But there's still a lot of really nice places. I've got, like, you know, within walking distance, I've got, like, a lot of chain restaurants. Your Cocos, your Coco Ichibanas, which are 2 separate things. Very confusing. I have, like, you know, Coco Ichibana, a really well-known sushi chain. You know, a really cheap udon place, a cheap ramen place, not too far from, you know, Matsuya and Yoshinoya. It's great. It's all these chain restaurants and in a few smaller places. This is really nice. the katsudon place. It's great. It really is. And with the bike now, I'm even closer to more, because I'm more close to like the center of town. And the bike only takes me like a short time to get to the center of town with the bike, so even more stuff there, and a lot of kind of bars and the like. Give me a moment, I'm gonna pick up that Stinghouse in the microwave. My microwavable food. Probably still hear me. It's so weird being in such a small space. I walk around my whole house and you can still hear me. Woo! Oh, it's picked me up from the other side of the room. That's hilarious. Yes, I wasn't so lucky in Australia. I had to take the car everywhere. There are a few cafes in walking distance, certainly, but no big supermarkets. Which is a shame, but c'est la vie. Australia is just like that. But yeah, it's quite nice. Electric bikes are cheap. Well, I'm certainly sure they are. Mine was a lot cheaper than I expected, actually. I'm not going to say exact prices, just know it was a fair bit of money, but it was from a well-known brand. It came with a long warranty and insurance. Whole lot of things. But it was hundreds of dollars cheaper than I thought it was going to be. It was it was shocking, to be honest. I was expecting to pay a certain amount, and then when I went and scanned it through, you know, I did all the paperwork signing. They gave me the thing to go to, because it was part of a bigger store. It was part of like a home center. So it had like fruits, and it had like, you know, plants and all that sort of thing, and a sports section and a house section and appliance section. It was a whole thing. It was amazing. And then I had a bike section, and, you know, the label said something. I was like, okay, I'm willing to spend that for a good, well-known brand that I know is reliable. I'm able to look at their stats, and I'm able to see how they're seen. It was very good. I did all my research. I got that one. And then when I scanned it through, it was genuinely hundreds of dollars cheaper than what the price tag said on the thing. And I was not going to complain. I wasn't going to complain. That's amazing. Just don't know why the price tag was different from the actual price. It was bizarre. Like, don't complain. Maybe the fellow gave me a discount. Or somebody hadn't done their job properly and put the sale on it. But you won't find any complaints from me. And they're great. This little electric bike's a real whiz-shake. A real little trooper. It has baskets on the front and the back that are quite large. The basket on the back is quite large. I can do like a week's worth of shopping and stick it in the back of my bike. Put a little waterproof thing over the top of it, and I'm set. I can do my shopping. I can collect packages from the post office. I can take packages to the post office. It's great. Enjoying the experience. Oh, I'm having a wonderful time. Still haven't technically started the job, though, that I was hired for. It's just timing and the like. I've done a lot of training and doing a bit more training, and we're getting everything set up. We've got bank accounts and all that sort of thing. That's still very confusing. Oh yes, I still have to figure out what the hell is up with that. I might have to go to the city hall at some point. Ah, well. But it's great times. I'm certainly having a good time. I'll tell you after a month if I'm still having a good time. It's still during the honeymoon period, I'd say. And also, I apologize for not streaming as much, but that's because I've been really making building a lot of roads, a lot of bridges with the people in my area, you know, colleagues, random people, you know. Just because I think it'd be best if I have like a sort of a network. It'd be a bit tragic to be all on my own. So it's been nice being able to make friends. First time in a very long time I've made friends. So that's been nice. It's been a long time. It's also been a very long time since I haven't been anywhere, you know, within a day's drive of any family. You know, I was in that I've been in that particular flat that granny flat I was living in for probably close to a decade. And before that, I was still near family. I was in my own place, but it's still no family, though. Eric Winters, the bridge builder, yes. Very easy to build bridges when you have the power of the ice. I'm like Elsa. Building bridges. Which is funny, because Elsa was trying to cut herself off. So I'm like the opposite. I'm anti-Elsa. I'm not trying to isolate myself. I'm trying to make friends. Alright. Things are cheap, though. I worry about how they get things in convenience stores so cheap in this country. It's terrifying. Like, what have you put in this? Is this just entirely made of microplastics from the ocean? Thing is, when I go to buy, most of the time when I used to buy pastries and breads and all that sort of stuff, I went out and it was usually a cafe that was a cafe bakery or something like that. So it's like, artisanal stuff. So it was more expensive, granted, but it tasted really high quality. But some of this stuff is so cheap here, but kind of tries to look like that same sort of bakery stuff. It's hilarious. Also, I've pretty much done no cooking since I got here, which is... I'm starting to miss it. I'm starting to miss cooking, but there was just so much cheap food to eat. In Australia, everything was so expensive. McDonald's was at the minimum $12 for a meal. Here, it's 600 bloody yen. Even converting, that's not even close to what it is in Australia. Going out was always a luxury in Australia. But here it seems going out is the norm and cooking at home is a luxury. It's bizarre. But I need to do some cooking soon. Gotta make sure I've got all the utensils and the spices, but I'll do some soon. Once I start missing the meals I was making in Australia. Is really good bridge? Really Japan and Australia? Probably not. But I think McDonald's has built that particular bridge. I was in the McDonald's and they had a little piece of paper on your little plastic tray, you get for the Maccas. And you walk in, you get your little plastic tray and your order on it. Very fast. By the way, that's the thing. Australian Maccas, you wait usually 5 to 10 minutes. Practically instantaneous in Japan. I don't know how they do it. It's frightening. I once ordered at a McDonald's, and they said, take this and put it on your table. We'll come give you your order. I didn't even get the 2 meters to a table I was going to sit at before I turned around, and the lady was standing there she was following me to my table. How do they do it? It's magic. But also, the beef in McDonald's in Japan is from Australia. Beef is like our second largest export beyond coal, so it's no surprise, but it is hilarious that I saw this little picture of this lady, and I was like, that lady is Australian if I've ever seen one, and then I looked at it and I started reading the Japanese, and yep, sure enough, there was a Queensland farm, a station up in Queensland, supplying the Maccas with most of their beef. It was crazy. Can't escape it. Maybe that's what they do. I noticed their chips don't seem to be as fresh as they are in Australia. Australia certainly was very good at having really nice, crunchy chips. The French fries. Notice that in Indonesia as well. They must pre-make a lot of the food. But yeah, I'm rarely sitting down for more than 5 minutes. Actually, not at all. It's crazy. It's mad. It's terrifying. It was really funny because I was walking along and going to sit down. I turn around, she's standing there with my order. I'm like, hi, this and that. And she's like, I actually it's about equitable. I'd say it's about the same as it is in Australia. It's just so much cheaper, so that puts it above Australia for me. I quite like... Japan has this Samurai Mac. I cannot remember what sauce is on it, but the Samurai Mac's quite good, especially the one with the lettuce and the tomato. The kind of, quarter pounder style Samurai Mac, not as good, but... Also, I've noticed that I haven't got any pickles. I can't remember actually getting pickles in any of my burgers in Australia. In Australia, not Australia, in Japan. You're the one that came from America. Yes, I'd say I still like, I don't know, maybe I just had a bad order from the KFC, but I think Australian KFC is better. I think Australian KFC is better than Japanese KFC. So far, I've only ever had one meal at the KFC. It's certainly, I like their box deals better in Australia. They're not too different in price, to be honest. Here, in Japan, KFC at least. But Macca's and pretty much every other restaurant is cheaper, even ones that taste expensive. Things that would be expensive in Australia, you know, okay, 15 bucks. Much cheaper here and taste just as good. You know, ramen particularly tastes just as good, but it's only like 600 yen. It's mad. No wonder I'm surprised people don't die of heart attacks. Goodness. Like one-way ticket to atherosclerosis. Is those ramen restaurants. Good God. Okay, so it's a lot better in the 90s, but they changed the recipe. Yeah, I wonder if that's actually true. It's one of those things. It may just be nostalgia talk. It may have never been that good, but it's hard to say, isn't it? Hard to say. I'm leaning back. But yes, I'm really enjoying it, but I think I might have to start cooking soon. Which actually means I need to pick up cooking utensils. Because that the place I'm living was not furnished with such things. I also need to get a bloody toaster. I've been living without toast. I've just been buttering bread. I stopped. I think that's the story. Oh, yeah, pressure cookers are pretty expensive to run in large scales, I'd imagine. And also a bit more technical to clean, right? They're not as easy as just frying the damn thing, you know? But yeah, who knows? Pressure cookers were very popular in America, from what I've heard. Filet-O-Fish. Yes, the Filet-O-Fish. I don't think I've ever had the Filet-O-Fish from McDonald's. I don't think I've ever had anything called Macca's. Never had the fish one from Macca's. There's always one there, but they don't do anything. It's just the most boring, sad-looking burger. If I wanted a burger that was fish on it, I'd go to a bloody fish and chip shop. There's a lot more of them, and they're a lot better than McDonald's. If I want chips and a fish burger, yeah, I'd just go to a bloody fish and chip place. If you go to the right fish and chip place, you get good, massive amount of chips for very cheap and a burger for just as cheap, so... yeah. Electric pressure cookers are extremely popular for you guys. Yeah, well, we've had air fryers. But the popular thing in Australia. Everyone has a bloody air fryer now in Australia. Ooh, air fryer. The health craze, it's taken a nation. Frying things with air. I just never believed them, but I know there are some. If there are specific, you can make specific recipes that are designed for air fryers, and they do work quite well. I just could never get the air fryer that my relative had to work well for me, so I just stuck with the oven and a bit of oil. I put some oil on my chips, on my red wedges, put a bit of oil and, you know, thyme and the like, and some oil, something else, herbed oil. I think my junk mail has just arrived. It's called the Instant Pop, but there are a lot of clones. A moment. Let's look at the junk mail that somebody just dropped in my postbox. Ooh, there you go. For a pizza place. Pizza, Japan Standard. Ooh. There you go. Ooh, look at that. It's a whole bloody book of advertisements for a nearby... I guess there must be a nearby pizza place opening up. Is this new? I don't know. Do they do delivery? Looks fancy. Certainly looks like better than Domino's. Apparently Domino's here is awful. Not awful. Too expensive. It tastes the same as any other Domino's, but it's really expensive in Japan for some reason. Is it really? Absolutely not. Pizza. Well, pizza, Japan Standard. Pizza lover, Japan Standard is in English, but then you've got a lot of pizza, sure, pizza, sure. I hope Japanese pizza is more expensive. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. Camembert. Camembert to was it bacon? No? Pizza? Bacon. Oh, got it. Bacon. Sorry. It's very difficult sometimes to figure out what they try to say. So, camembert no yokubari. Kyo da. Very far. What is it? North Sea something or other? Interesting. It might be the town where it is. Oh, I don't say that because then you could find where I am. Can't let you guys find out where I live. What's your thing? Oh, baby. Udai shotomato. Freshu tomato. Ooh. Freshu tomato. To. Banshiru. Banshiru? Ah, bajiru. Sorry. G. Sorry, I forgot about G. Bajiru. Sorry. It's clearly not that good at reading Japanese. Basil. So, fresh tomatoes and basil. Camembert and bacon. That sounds like a heart attack on a bloody piece of bread. What's the one they're advertising this center? It's another new one. Was it Botaru? Something or other. No. Gurimek. What are all these damn Japanese words? These mystery Japanese words. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. I've got this. Yes, we used for Domino's for $8, but inflation killed that. It was never that cheap in Australia. I think I was able to sometimes get a pizza for relatively cheap, but cheap delivery. Well, cheap, you could get it for like $11 if you go into the store. And they were usually pretty big, but yeah, it's a bit tough. The cheapest way to eat it was just get one of the premium pizzas for cheaper and get it delivered. Anyway, how do I make tiny things? Make things small again. There's a lot of hotkeys and I don't know. I just pick it up since it's cheaper. Yeah, well, sometimes I didn't have that choice. Give me a moment, I'm going to freeze and stare at you. No, it's cool. Cool. Ah, gourmet quarter. Interesting. I don't know what that means. Probably just what they're actually doing. That was $30 before taxes. Yeah, okay, they're not that quite that expensive. Interesting. Gourmet quarter. So they can sort of quarter the pizza and do like 4 different pieces. Interesting. Shifudo pizza. Shifudo pizza. Oh, seafood pizza. Got it. Torokeru. Mozzarella. It's mozzarella. Interesting. Wow, this is a big-ass menu. It's very large. So what's the prices of it? Let's look. Okay. So a medium, yep, is 2,400 yen. Yeesh. A large is 3,700. Whoa. Before taxes. 4,000 yen after taxes. Jesus Christ. I guess this is that gourmet one though, so this is like, I wonder what's one pizza cost? Like a single type of pizza. So I just want a normal pizza. I don't know, there's a weird one with sausages all over it. What's that one? Sausage or something or other. Bekonomitotsu. So I'm bacon, meat, and sausage burger. Sausages suck here, by the way. Absolutely awful. Terrible, terrible time. I hate them. And so a bacon and meat sausage sort of thing. Surely, okay, the countries are seafood. They do, but seafood when it comes to sort of other things, and this is a pizza place, they're using a lot of katakana here when they probably don't need to. They're using a lot of foreign words because it's a pizza place. Foreign words, you know, foreign-based words are what they're expecting, you know? It's prestigious, I suppose. And also, they don't have the word for sausage. But yes, they definitely have a word for seafood. In fact, I think the word for seafood is there. It's just also in English underneath it. Interesting. But they do like using the word seafood for some reason. Don't know why. So yes. Oh my goodness, pizzas are expensive here. Oh, that's a daylight robbery, mate. Bloody daylight robbery. It looks really good, but I can't afford that. Bloody mugging me. Practically Ned Kelly running up to me with a bloody gun. Good God, daylight robbery, those pizza prices. For Americans, pretty much close to about $20 for a medium size and over $30 for most larges. And so I think it seems to be pretty equivalent to the American cost for pizza. Excuse me. That is mad. Absolutely mad. Oh, that's crazy. It was not good. It was sweet and vanilla flavored, I think. Chinese food is quite interesting with some of their flavors. They have a real strange obsession with peanuts. I always get a bit weirded out when I have peanuts. I like them, but they kind of throw me for a bit of a loop sometimes. With those sort of peanut sauces. Like, there's peanut curries and stuff. There's like peanut-based curries, because I always think of just peanut butter, which is definitely not the best thing to be thinking about when you're having a savory dish full of chicken. But, you know, to each their own. I won't complain, and I'll eat what's in front of me. I'll eat what is in front of me. Oh, goodness. We've only been going for 2 hours. Was planning on only going for a couple of hours. I do need to go to lunch, and I have a meeting this afternoon. I have a meeting where I actually have to speak some Japanese, shockingly enough. Who would have thought? It's okay as a savory sauce. That's true. I like it. I like a lot of the Asian sort of meals. I had a lot of Asian just before I left Australia because I was visiting on my family, and they all eat various Asians, and also Indian. And so I had like Thai, Indian, Malaysian, Chinese, India. There was another one in there somewhere. All of those sort of Southeast Asian areas and that sort of thing. It was quite nice. Quite a lot of them had peanuts in it. Thai and Indian had a lot of peanuts sort of based ones, and they're quite good. It's just then that first initial bite, and you go into it and you're like, whoa, oh, that's right, peanuts, and then you're fine with it. But it's kind of a surprise every single time, even though I know it's coming. It's very popular over here. Yeah. Well, it's a good sauce. It has a lot of protein in it, so you can use less meat, and you'll still get the same amount of protein, I think. Not that protein, or is it legumes? I think it's legumes. What do peanuts have again? Peanut nutrients. They're a legume, so I'm not stupid. They do have protein in it. Seafood pizza was pretty good. Been wanting one for a while. I wonder if it's any better in Japan. Yeah, I was right. Peanut is a legume. So I wasn't stupid. I thought that was the case. Yeah, you've hit your 50% of your daily value of protein in a peanut, a serving of 100 grams of peanuts. There you go. Have a peanut sauce and you'd be bloody set. Get the ink sauce pizza. Is there one in this? I don't know if this. I think this place is very much going for Pizza Italian. I think their name is supposed to be a joke on Pizza Italian or something like that. It's even got the little Italian flag on everywhere. So, I don't think you're gonna find a seafood. There is a seafood style pizza that's got like little. That's got a. Oh, that's all in Japanese. Wow, that pizza name's all in Japanese. Oh, there's a teriyaki chicken. A teriyaki chicken pizza. Ooh, teriyaki chicken. That sounds quite nice. Some mochi something or other. Pizza. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look it up. I'm not very good at Japanese kanji. I'll have to come back to you. But there is no ink pizza on that. I did have an ink burger, actually. I took a day trip to one of the nearby beach areas. You know. Get there by public transport. Excuse me, I made it to the beach, and there was a little burger shack. It's winter, so it's still early spring, so the beaches aren't very populated. They're kind of sad, actually, some of the beaches nearby. The beaches look really nice, just the... I'm so used to Australia, where all year round in Australia, you know, you've got every front, even if there's no beach there, if there's water meeting land, there'll be 100 fish and chip shops. So it was very strange to see so few eateries, I suppose, along the coast where I went. Granted, it's not very well. Maybe the coast more and one of the bigger cities nearby will be a bit more populated. But there was a burger place there, and they had their like signature burger. Their burger with the name of their shop on it was an ink bun, you know, an ink bun burger, and it was actually quite interesting. I thought it wouldn't change the flavour at all, but it did. It did change the flavour. I couldn't tell you what, because I was really hungry and I ate it quite quickly, but fairly large burgers too. Very American-style burgers. You know, they're kind of like, you go to a burger place and you get a burger and it's big. Yeah, it looked really quite nice. Really quite nice of a burger. I think I took a picture of it. I'll have to show you at some point. I don't know if I... Yeah, picture of it. It was on a beach. Did I think I might have left a picture. Let's go to this folder. I made a folder. Did I? No, I did not get that photo off my phone. Damn. Oh well. It looked quite nice and it was very scenic. I was sitting on the beach eating a burger. It was very nice. Very cold, though. Still quite cold here. It's getting warmer, but yes. Burgers of every size in America. Fair enough. Now, this was quite large. I'm used to burger places being a bit skimpy on their burger sizes, to be honest. Australian burger places are a bit of a rip-off sometimes. I'm sure there are some good ones, but honestly, they're a bit of a rip-off sometimes. From tiny to the size of a tabletop. Oh yes, well I suppose that's good. But yes, oh well. Oh dear, dear. Trying to think of anything else to say. Probably got plenty to say, but I do only have a few hours and I have to do a few things. It's nice, 20 minutes, very nice. But yes, so I think we might finish up there. It's been a good chat. And I think tomorrow or the next day, depending when I decide to do it, probably the next day. I've streamed a couple of days in a row now, and I'm tired. Gonna be 3 days in a row, and I'm already tired. Now I've got a couple of things to do. I might do it tomorrow, though. We might play the karaoke. And probably talk for hours, because karaoke cannot possibly be that long. Cannot possibly be that long, the karaoke game, so we'll probably end up talking a lot. We'll talk again tomorrow. So... see if we can raid rat. Oh yes! Throw his link in the thing if he's streaming at the time. Is he back to streaming again? That's quite nice. Glad to see he's back. But yes, so yeah, I think we'll finish up there. And it's been very good. It was that long. There you go. Open that. Oh, playing Parasite Eve. Interesting. That's not the game I was expecting to see. Very Japanese. There's a built-in raid feature. Is there? How the bloody hell do I do that? How? How do I do that? Do they have one now? Or do I have to join, like, be a friend with the... Don't I have to, like, know them and, like, say they're okay to raid? Live redirect. Huh. Let me have a look here. Interesting. Live redirect. Where would that be? Maybe I'm not cool enough to have it. Have I suddenly lost chat? There you are. So, live redirect, you say? Interesting. Live redirect. Okay. Edit customization. Let's see. Oh, I have to be monetized first. That's probably a good point. Oh, well, you can head over to him. Say I sent you. Tell them I sent you, I guess. But, can't believe he's playing Parasite Eve. Goodness. It's been a long time since I've seen anything about that game. But yes. Oh, well. So lovely. Anyway. Yes, so we'll do it tomorrow. But you've all been a good audience today. Good chat. I'm glad I got to talk about a lot. And I'll say, see you now. Remember, KFC is better than Japanese KFC. You're damn right it is. So, yes, we'll finish. You've all been a good audience. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back, probably tomorrow, for more me talking about me being in Japan. That's right. Because I'm cooler than you. But as always, good night. Sleep tight. And don't watch out for going native. Don't let going native bite. And that's all. I'll head over to the link there if you're all so kind. And say winter has come. Oh, well, good night. Oop. Wrong one. This one.